Hey everyone, this is Austin Shore here with We Write About Music, and today I'm so happy to have back on again Paul Vuocolo of Truenemy. He's got a brand new EP out. It's called Curse of the Lightning Ball, and I'm super excited to talk to him all about it. Paul, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. How are you? What's going on?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thank you, Austin. Glad to be with you again, talking about music. And coming out of a busy day and into talking about fun stuff. So I'm pretty
I know,
excited
right?
about it.
Let's leave the bad stuff in the past and let's look forward to amazing music and a good conversation.
For sure. Awesome.
Nice. Listen, this thing, and I'm not just saying this, it rocks from start to finish, truly. It's four fantastic songs that somehow are extremely different from one another, yet kind of come together to create like 15 minutes of just incredible sound. And you've got one original on here and three super interesting covers.
Yeah,
First thing I want to talk about here is the original. This one rips. How did
sure.
you even begin to create this? I want to know all about it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that song goes way back. Like we're talking like
Oh,
to the origins of Lightning Balls, like late 90s, early 2000s. Like I mentioned before, this is all music, like unfinished songs I'm like, revisiting and
yeah.
really polishing off. So I think I just heard on the news one day about ball lightning phenomenon. Well, that's kind of cool, right? And I had fleshed out
Interesting.
some lyrics about this crazy person who's obsessed. And then years later, the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out, and I'm like, the Gollum thing. Like, okay, ball lightning guy is like this crazy guy is obsessed with like this thing he can't get, and then he gets it, and then he loses it, and he loses his mind. So all of it just slowly came together over time. And then when Truenemy was playing back in the day, we would play it live, but we never recorded it. So fast forward to now,
Yeah.
I think around 2021 when I was digging through stuff, I was like, wait a minute, I've got this Medusa demo, I've got this lightning ball thing, and
Yeah.
then my friend Kuhn had recorded the dungeon theme on 12 string from Zelda, and I was like, this would be kind of cool to put it together and release around Halloween time. So fast forward to now, finally got it all together, and yeah. But to answer your original question, lightning ball,
That's
yes, but
okay.
yeah.
I mean, listen, it sounds like it took 30 years to put this thing together. Do you feel like somehow you had to channel the past to get yourself towards the present day to make this thing? Like
That's
headspace?
interesting. Um, a little bit. I mean, digging into files and figuring out where stuff was, but I think some of there
Well,
was some
yeah.
missing vocal performances. So
Hmm.
definitely when delivering, re-recording some of those, you want to make sure they sounded or felt like how I was performing them. Then there's some
Okay.
whole. So yeah, you got to do a little bit, almost like mimicking yourself in a way to make it
Right.
kind of all sound cohesive. But yeah, no, but for me, it's kind of fun and cathartic. So
Of
it's always stuff
course.
I've been really proud of and wanted to finish.
When you were, I guess, putting the finishing touches on this first song, did you have an idea or sort of a blueprint for how you wanted the remaining three to sound in terms of, I guess, matching tones and creating sort of like a, I want to say, dark haunting theme around them?
Yeah, I think they just kind of put themselves together, right? Because box toccata is always this
Yeah,
traditional. You always hear that during Halloween time and on Halloween scary music tunes or something. Dungeon theme, the Zelda thing. It's just the key it's in lends itself. They all lend themselves to minor haunting tones. D
sure.
minor is like one of the heaviest, darkest keys, so that's like lightning ball and electric toccata. So I don't know. It just kind of clicked. It didn't. It was there wasn't any moment of like, oh, these four. It was just like, oh yeah, they would all work together. So
Hmm. Nice. Well, I mean, obviously it worked out in the end because it
yeah,
does. I think for anyone that maybe went in with a blind ear and didn't even look at the song titles, didn't even know that the remaining three were covers, would consider this to be one cohesive record. You know what I'm saying? They're going to listen to it, they're going to feel sort of the overarching tone of everything and come out of it like, oh, okay. Then once they do the research, then they can kind of see this is what he was going for.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just
Totally.
it's supposed to be almost like I don't know, like almost like a soundtrack experience in a way too. It's kind of
Exactly.
approach.
Exactly. Very cinematic.
Yeah, there we
Um,
go. Exactly.
yeah. Whenever I talk to people about covers, it kind of goes one of two ways because I think a cover song can sometimes even be more difficult than creating an original because you're kind of shooting upwards in a way. You're making something that is so revered by people. People go one of two routes. They either do note for note, same song, or they put their own twist on it. Me personally, I enjoy when people put their own twists on the song, kind of
Yeah.
gives, personality. And that's what you've done here on these three songs. How do you go about taking these three songs and being like, okay, I want to stay true to the original, but I also kind of want to do my own thing here?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll kind of go out of order. Like the dungeon theme from Zelda, that was just dumb luck finding a recorded track from years ago where my buddy was playing the 12.
Sure.
Like,
Okay.
okay, we'll add some synth to that, and boom, we've got one. The Bach thing, way back in the day when I was learning to play guitar, I had a Wolf Marshall, who was he's a guitar teacher guy for Guitar
Yeah.
World magazine or Guitar magazine. I had one of his tapes and he opened it with the Bach toccata. And I remember always trying to learn that.
Yeah.
And fast forward years later, Truenemy playing live, I would always intro Lightning Ball with a little phrasing from
Nice.
that. So that was always in my head, like maybe we could do something when we record something. But then taking it to the next level where it's more atmospheric and cinematic and kind of throwing in kind of almost that Black Sabbath vibe with the rain
Right.
and the bells and that kind of thing. So there's where the twist come in. So it's just not a guitar solo. It's
Sure.
like something. There's a story going on there. And with the Medusa song, I've always loved that song of Anthrax. It's a very popular song of theirs. I think they
Yeah.
still play it in their sets to this day. Um, but I always felt the original, and it was because of the time. It was like had a lot of repeat phrasings and riffs
Sure.
and things. But I was like, what if we take it and kind of make it shorter, make it like radio friendly, a little more melodic, trim out some of the extra pre-choruses or whatever, not pre-choruses, but trim it down a little bit and make it a little more romantic because of the story of Medusa, right? She's
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
beautiful woman and turn, whatever, we all know the story, but make it a little more romantic, like it's like almost like feels like a love lost kind of thing or something like
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, so that's how I approach putting a twist on things.
Very cool. I mean, obviously, I recommend everyone listen to this whole thing from start to finish, but I also think it's really interesting to then listen to your covers, but then listen to the originals first to
Yeah,
kind of see and hear the differences and see what spin you've put on it.
yeah,
I mean, more than anything, I think it's crazy that 25 years down the line and Zelda still has the staying power that it once did. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah,
Because,
for sure.
like, if it had somehow lost its way and no one cared anymore, but just like with the continued rise of video games and this and that, Zelda
Right.
is still at the top. So
Sure.
songs like these deserve to be listened to.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. My son, who's 9, is playing Zelda. It's like, oh, yeah, I played Zelda when I was your age too.
That's what I'm
Maybe
saying.
too much, apparently.
Too much.
Yeah, but no, yeah, exactly. It's like it's the staying power is pretty cool, and how they become like generational
Right.
thing. And yeah, it's really cool. Like generational brands with those things. Very cool.
Right. I know that Chuck Alkazian helped you produce this record, and I
Yeah.
want to know. I think it's interesting working with the same producer over and over again. Do you find that the more, like, I guess the relationship that you have with him in terms of making the music and putting the final touches on it, does it become more streamlined the more that you go in and work with him on it, especially on songs like these?
For sure. I got a great working relationship with Chuck. He helps me. He saves me from myself in a way because I have a
Sure.
tendency to overanalyze but he's good at saying we're done. It's good. It's good enough kind
Okay.
of. And we've kind of got a sound template for we want all these older songs to kind of have the same punch and feel, and so there's kind of a sonic template for all these.
Right.
But no, really, really great working relationship. We kicked butt here the last couple of weeks, getting these ready to be delivered. And yeah, Chuck even did he did a lot of the cool synth work on
Oh,
electric
nice.
and some cool drum ideas in Medusa, and maybe a couple other things that escape me in the moment. But yeah, we got a real cool thing going in creative partnership.
Very cool. Do you find it, I guess, more difficult to work on an original or cover with him?
Uh, I don't know. I think I'm the more difficult. That Lightning Ball is probably the most complicated song I wrote. So I think
Okay.
originals are definitely more difficult. You're more critical of them because it's your work. I feel like, and maybe we talked about this before when we were talking about the Elvis Christmas song cover.
Yeah.
I just think they're a little more freeing because there's kind of a template there and you just kind of twist and turn around it, but there's less stress. It's like the song's written, I'm just doing my interpretation. But
Sure.
yeah, on the original, I definitely will like I can fixate a little bit like, oh man, maybe we should have said this or maybe we should have done that or it's like
Right.
good enough. I'm the only one who'll ever know.
Listen, there's a perfectionist in all of us.
Yeah,
That's just how it works.
right.
Um, on all these songs, is it I guess, the same cast of musicians working on them, or is it different
Oh,
people for each
that's
song?
that's a good question. There's some variety on this. Like I mentioned, Chuck did some synth work on a couple of tracks.
Sure.
And Dungeon Theme was my buddy Kun Lee, who played a couple solos on the Saturation Point single we talked about a few years ago.
Nice.
And True Enemy bassist Brian Harper on Lightning Ball is his bass track from years ago I found. So it's kind of cool,
Okay.
like pulling these things and performances into a new production. So yeah,
Right. So yeah, so I find that super interesting that you take these recordings from, I guess, literally almost 30 years ago at this point,
yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, okay, got the demos, got this thing. Do you then go back and consult the musicians, being like, hey, so this thing that we did a lifetime ago, I want to bring it to the now. Do you have any say?
They're mostly all, I mean, Lightning Ball is my song, so not real, there's no
Okay.
real like getting any permission kind of thing. If
Yeah,
anything, I
not
like,
necessarily permission,
yeah,
just like, hey, so you know this thing that you played a while ago, like,
yeah.
is there anything that you'd want to change around? And
Oh,
okay.
sure, gotcha. No, I guess I didn't never put it out that way, but I put it out to
Okay.
them like, isn't this cool? Like, hey, check it
Right,
out.
right. I mean,
Uh,
that's the main thing.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I'm always in fact I shared it with Brian, I don't know, over the weekend or something that it's coming out. So pretty cool. In fact, I know Brian's been he's been battling cancer actually. So I'm
Oh,
going to take
geez.
the opportunity to plug if you go to my Spotify and Spotify has the charitable donation spot there, like if anyone out there is feeling uh, giving in the giving mood,
Yeah,
please donate to help him pay off some medical bills. But
absolutely.
yeah, but no, everyone's pretty excited knowing it's coming. They probably think I'm crazy too. They don't say it, but
Who
in general, I think
cares?
they're pretty excited that it's coming out. So
We all have our hobbies.
yeah,
And actually, I think that's a really interesting point because a lot of, and maybe not a lot, but a lot of the times that we've talked, it's been things being pulled from the past that are now seeing the light of day
yeah,
now. So then it kind of begs the question of the future of Truenemy. Like,
yeah,
you're an artist, you're a
yeah,
creative at the base of it. I
yeah.
know that 10, 20 years from now, you'll still have musical ideas flowing through your head.
Right.
So it's like, if you don't have an answer, it's fine. But what is sort of the future for the project here? I think there's going to come a time where potentially the well is empty.
Sure, that's a good question. I would say, and I've thought about this a lot because the last year has been a lot of change. Moved my family closer to my son's school,
Okay.
and if you've ever moved, it's been a long time since I moved, but moving really cements how much time has passed and how much crap you've accumulated, and all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff that's running through your head.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah. So, as far as like the original batch of songs, like Lightning Ball, the Curse of the Lightning Ball EP was like a deviation from the original plan. I was like, oh, cool EP idea. Let's run with it. There are 4 or 5 songs to
Mhm.
finish and kind of bucket all that original like intended True Enemy LP thing and just
Sure.
finish it off. So I hate to throw out dates because I always get side rail or derailed, but
Yeah.
I would ideally like to just wrap that up, the
Cool.
old stuff next year, and then go from there.
Nice. I mean, yeah, listen, you're on your own time. You have a life. You do it when you want to.
Right.
But I do think there has to be sort of like a creative spark because it is so
Yeah.
time intensive. Are there
Yeah.
things in your life that kind of have you coming back to music in a way?
Well, well, to kind of answer this question, the previous, like, um, I think if I do anything that's not Truenemy, and the stuff that gets me going is like seeing music through my son's eyes, right?
Oh yeah,
So, there was that Beach Boys documentary that came out earlier this year on Disney Plus. I'm not sure if you saw
sure.
it. But when I see stuff like that, it gets me going, and then I dive into a catalog, and then I get to share it with my son and my family, and we go see
It's
the Beach
awesome.
Boys right when they come to town, even though there's only two of them in the band now. But Uncle Jesse was there from Full
I
House.
yes, exactly.
So, and then, I started thinking to myself, what would sound sweet is a rocking cover of like a really heavy cover of like I Get Around. So, like, those are the things I have going in my head. Like, when this is kind of done, I have a little more time to do new stuff. It's going to be like kind of the stuff that makes me happy. Just kind of, and if new original material flows through all that, great. But I find sometimes there's a spirit in listening to music you love and are familiar with, and that can like it can really reinvigorate you and just get the creative juices flowing. So
No, I fully agree. I want to know because like I don't have kids, but I want kids. And I think one of the things that I would do as a father would be like just constantly showing them all the music that I love and crossing my fingers that they enjoy it.
they're right.
Are there like select bands or things that you've showed your son that you were surprised that he liked?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I think he just kind of likes. I think we're lucky at this point because he's only 9 and then not hit a stage where it's like, Dad, all your music's stupid, right? But
That will
uh,
happen
yeah, right.
eventually.
But yeah, um, but so far, I loving everything, and I'm careful too. I don't share a lot of the heavy stuff. Like
Sure.
I have a thing where it's like I think kids are allowed to have their youth and innocence, right? I don't think it's up
Yeah.
to me to introduce my son to like dark heavy metal at 9. Like
No, of
I'll figure
course
that out.
not.
But anyway, so I keep it simple. But like Elvis, the Beach Boys, Michael Jackson, really
Cool.
got into that actually. I showed him the Thriller video last year.
Nice. Very nice.
So yeah, no, but not nothing yet where he's like, Dad, I don't like that kind of thing. But
Okay.
yeah, so far so good.
That's
But it's
awesome.
fun,
Listen,
fun
that
sharing the stuff I
of
grew up with.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, listen, you can't just throw them into the deep end. You kind of gotta you gotta work up and be like, okay, maybe when you're 13, you'll
yeah,
enjoy this. But
yeah.
for
Here's
now,
Slayer, Angel of Death. Go enjoy.
it's a
Yeah.
great example. Are there any records or artists that kind of jumped out at you this year that maybe you would have discovered for the first time?
Oh, I really got back in. Let me think. There's a couple things. I'm trying to think of my year because it was crazy with moving and home
Yeah. Oh
renovations and
yeah.
all sorts of stuff. But I really got back into Stone Temple Pilots earlier in the year
Sweet.
and was just jamming along to a lot of that stuff and really the chords DeLeo came up with on some of that stuff. You know what it was? It was the Rick Beato interview with
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Robert DeLeo, and that got me going on stuff. And so yeah, I just dove into their catalog and like his
Sweet.
chord progressions and all that stuff. And then I think after that, like I was saying, the Beach Boys thing, and just kind of digging into that, and dig into the catalog, and and just the story is crazy too. I'm like, wait a minute, there's a Marilyn Manson or not Marilyn, Charles Manson connection with
Right.
the Beach Boys, and so like, oh,
Interesting.
fascinating stuff. But yeah, so mostly yeah that and got to check out Megadeth at Pine Knob here this summer. They're
Oh,
so
sweet.
the lineup right now is so tight, and so that was a great show. That was just like last month. But yeah,
Awesome. Actually, I want to recommend you a band because you've mentioned the Beach Boys a couple times
yeah,
during this interview. There's a band out there called the Lemon Twigs. I
Lemon
don't know if
Twist.
you've heard it. Lemon
No.
Twigs.
Okay,
I've showed them to both my parents. My parents have fallen in love because they pretty much like the same stuff you like. It's truly like a mix of the Beach Boys and the Beatles with like a modern pop rock edge to it, and they just
cool,
hit those harmonies in a way that like just
nice,
tickle your brain. Think you'd love them. Start anywhere.
very cool. I'll check them
Yeah,
out. That's
awesome.
the second recommendation from you. I think before you told me about King Gizzard and the or
Yep.
so-
And the Lizard Wizard,
yeah, yeah,
also a
yeah.
great band.
I checked them out. I was
Um,
like, whoa, yeah,
yeah, a
pretty
little
good.
bit of everything, but no, this
Yeah,
this band is a little more focused in terms of like that's their sound.
cool, cool.
Anyway, I have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, go for it.
I want to know, listen, is there anything about this EP that maybe I didn't ask that you feel is important for people to know before they listen?
I think we could musically, creatively, sonically. I think we touched on all that. I mean, it's a pretty heavy hitting. It's very diverse. I think you mentioned that too. I mean, you're gonna get a little bit of everything. You're gonna get atmospheric guitar solos, 12-string
Mm-hmm.
acoustic, just
Yep.
crushing hard rock and melodic, choruses and that. But uh, the art, I'm really proud of. Really excited.
Sweet.
Um, and we haven't talked about that. That was um, when I had the concept. I was researching and saw this. The artwork in the background was like some French illustrator from 100 or 200 years ago drew
Yeah.
that. And there's all these accounts of people seeing ball lightning, but never it being like, videotaped or pictures
Sure.
taken. So that's the whole thing too. Like, is it really a thing or is it just folklore? But I wanted to like present it since it has this cinematic kind of vibe. I wanted to go with the 1950s sci-fi horror movie poster kind of vibe.
There
So
you go.
if you look at it, it's kind of like it's the black that it's the atmospheric terror, static charge fright, and it's the black that is cast of hearts. It's curse of lightning, and where it says normally says the actors, it says the song. So I'm pretty cool, pretty excited about how that turned out. It's that's always a very fun part is the art. I've always loved
I
album art,
agree.
especially
Me
really
too.
good album art. Should make you think, make you want to look at it over and over.
I agree. Well, it's the first impression for most people.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? If you don't have
yeah,
a kind of enticing album art or it gives you an idea of what you might be getting into, then it
yeah.
gives off the wrong impression. I fully agree. It's worth the
Correct.
time and energy.
Yeah, correct.
Um, Paul, listen, I before we wrap up here, I want to thank you for taking the time, but I also want to plug this for everyone out there who didn't catch it. So if you didn't catch it, I'm speaking with Paul Vuocolo of Truenemy. The EP is called Curse of the Lightning Ball, and by the time this comes out, it'll be out into the world everywhere on the article and everywhere else. We have the links so you can listen and share and follow along and just generally stay tuned. I'm always excited for what's next. I know there's never a timetable, but it doesn't really matter because I know that. I mean, as well as I know you, I know something else is in the works. And from
Yeah,
what you
for
said,
sure.
it sounds like there will be.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, I
Awesome.
hope everybody checks it out. I mean, it got radio airplay this past Sunday on 101 Riff here
Awesome.
in Detroit,
Congrats.
both Medusa and Lightning Ball. That was really
Hell
cool. So
yeah.
I hope everyone checks it out and really enjoys it. And hey, let me know on social if you're digging it, and
Awesome.
see you soon.
Cool. Paul, thank you so much again. I hope you have an amazing rest of your night and a happy Halloween. And I hope to speak soon.
Likewise. All right, thanks,
Awesome.
Austin.
All right.
Talk to
Take
you
care. Bye bye.
soon.
See
Bye.
ya.